So, good evening, everyone who was able to make it tonight, and everyone who's going to watch this later. And welcome. So, today is February 24th. This is Seattle Special Education PTSA meeting. And it looks like, I'm sorry. Sherilyn, would you mind emailing Carola the link, the meeting link? It's on the calendar. I'm pretty sure I said, but might help. Okay, so thank you for coming. We're just going to get started. Kate, can we get it next slide? So today we don't quite yet have the Spanish interpreter in, and we don't need anybody who's here doesn't need them. So we can come to this slide later if we need it. So next slide. And I hope, Sherilyn, are you ready? Oh, you're muted.
The effectiveness of multitasking is proven to not be effective. I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. First, I also want to note that Seattle Public Schools has some information on Black Indians at African American History Month. I was kind of interested or surprised to find this series of photos talking about well-known Black Americans who also have Native American heritage. And the acknowledgement, most, if not all of us, are here tonight on the land of the traditional home of the Coast Salish and the Duwamish tribes, and the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, and Muckleshoot nations. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. This acknowledgement is a small step to bring about a future that includes their people's stories and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
This is Kate. I'm reading the meeting agreements. Keep the focus on students and their needs. Be mindful of airtime. Respect each other and each person's ideas. Discuss ideas, not individuals. Keep yourself muted unless you are speaking. State your name before you speak. Speak slowly to allow interpreters to do their work. Advocate for those that are not here. And beware that recorded meetings may be posted publicly.
This is Yana, which means that if you need us to pause, let us know. Okay, so this is Yana. In February, we celebrate Black History Month, and we want to acknowledge and celebrate the heritage, the culture, and accomplishment of those who identify as Black and or African American. And also we recognize the ongoing struggles for these communities, and especially now in the United States. So for today's agenda, we invited, as always, Executive Director of Special Education, Devin Gurley, but I did follow up and I did not hear back. So I don't think we're gonna get to speak with Director Gurley. We sent in 7 questions, which I'm gonna try to put a link to those questions in the chat for people to see what are the questions that we asked and we were hoping to get answered today, unless somebody can grab that for me. And then we have guest, Brian Day, Director of STEM and Career and Technical Education, also known as CTE. What do we have? There we go. All right. And yeah, you are renamed. Okay, great. Hi, Brian. Thank you for coming. And then once the fun stuff is done, we're going to try to approve meeting minutes if we get enough people. And then we're going to have committee reports and some announcements. All right, next slide, please. So we can skip this slide because Director Gurley's not here. So let me just pass it on to Brian Day, Dr. Brian Day, Director of STEM and CTE in SBS.
But not doctor yet, maybe so.
Not doctor? Why did I thought that you were. I don't know.
Oh, everybody does, but you know.
Okay. Well, almost Dr. Brian Day. Welcome.
Thank you for letting us visit. I'll do a formal introduction. My name is Brian Day. I'm the Director of STEM in CTE. And as you said, CTE is Career and Technical Education. And STEM is a lot of CTE, but the way I like to think of it is that CTE usually focus mostly on high school, but I really strongly believe that CTE, thinking about kids' careers and their future, has to begin very, very early. And kids really form an idea of who they are and what they can become at an early age. So I like this title of STEM and CTE and the ability to really reach kids early on. So I've been in Seattle for about 3 or 4 years, and I was in Everett for over 20 years. And the districts are very, very different. And still I'm learning differences. And it was quite a shock when I first came. This group was one of the first groups I talked to. And just based on your feedback and your comments, I really formed a strong strategy of how to first approach Seattle, which was basically work hard to get information out there for every single student. Because I would talk to parents, I talked to people, and they would say, those opportunities sound great. I wish I knew about them. And then it occurred to me like the best thing that we could do is just better get information out there and let people know about the opportunities. It's one thing to have the opportunities, but we have to make sure that parents, that the families and students know what those opportunities are. So as I said, I've been in Seattle 3 or 4 years, and in Everett before. My pronouns are he and him. I am a 50-year-old male wearing a navy cardigan. I'm also very pleased to introduce, and I think you know Katie Meyer. I really depend on Katie to help me, especially with students receiving special services and guidance. It's not my area of expertise, so I rely on her on difficult questions. I'm going to say hi, Katie, and anything else?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, glad to be here. And I did click into the document and requested access to your questions. I'm excited to see what you asked, Ms. Gurley. And thanks, Brian, for having me here. I love this group.
Good group. I remember from last time. And also Kat York. And Kat, we hired, gosh, a year after I started. And a big reason why we hired Kat was for the reason I just said, is that we have great opportunities, but we're not engaging kids enough. We're not engaging families enough. If we do the same things as we did before, we are not going to reach people. So we really have to think about innovative ways to reach those people. And Kat really leads that work, as in addition to just helping me think deeply about what we're doing in CTE and how we can do things differently. You want to say a little bit more, Kat?
Sure. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Like Brian said, part of my role is making sure that our school year programs, our summer programs, and even opportunities outside of school are more visible to students and parents. So I look forward to learning from this group and welcome all your feedback.
So thank you, Kat, and I'll jump into the presentation, but so I can read your understanding. So when I say CTE, Career and Technical Education, what degree do you understand, like what that is, what the courses are? If you don't mind, if you could just put it in the chat, 5 being I really understand well, and 0 means I have no idea what you're talking about. Sometimes I think I'd be about a 3.5. Okay, that gives me a good read. Before I jump into the presentation, which is really not a presentation, it's more, I want to give you some information, show you how to use some tools, introduce you to any opportunities. At any time, you can interrupt me and ask questions. Again, I'm not an expert in many things. Katie and Kat are, but I'll do my best to answer. And when I can't answer, we will follow up with you. So any question is good.
This is Yana. You feel free to raise your hand, whether it's virtual or the electronic one. We're trying to keep track.
And I have to also tell you that I'm recovering from the flu and pneumonia, and I've been having coughing spells. If that happens, Kat will take over for me momentarily. And there is the presentation. Whoever put that up, thank you. So CTE, Seattle Public Schools, we have a strong program. We have strong teachers and we have strong kids in our classrooms, but we want to grow, and growing really means understanding what our gaps are. And I find the best way to figure out what those gaps are is hearing from families, parents, and just where are we not meeting the kids, where are we not meeting the needs of our students. So your input is extremely important. We had an hour-long discussion today about really what are we not doing and what are the strategies that we can put in place. And by no means do we want to pretend like we know what the answers are, but to a certain degree, we can address those gaps. Go ahead to the next slide. So introductions, kind of did that. The pictures are interesting. So I think introduction to CTE, you kind of get it when you look at the pictures. We are teaching kids about their future. It's not just skills. It's about how do you really succeed after life in Seattle Public Schools. It really is not just about career, but how do you collaborate? How do you speak up for yourself? How do you communicate? It's all those skills that we know really are the things that build success in career and really form a strong sense of self. Go next slide. So as I said, my purpose really tonight is to help guide you in exploring opportunities and understanding the career landscape. And I'll show you how to use some of those tools. I'll get you walk away with some things. And again, another purpose that I have is just hearing from you. Even if I can't answer all your questions, Kat's taking notes, and we have a meeting tomorrow where we'll review what we are talking about. So hopefully you walk away with some good information, good tools. Let's go to the next slide. And sort of an agenda here, which is variable, we can change it, but sometimes it's better to watch a very short video with kids in it than listen to me speak. I want to show you kind of a living wage tool. I find that people don't fully understand how much income it takes to actually live in the Puget Sound area. And yeah, it's shocking to some people when they see the amount. I want to give you a tool where you can better understand what are the careers now that are in demand and pay at least the living wage, and what are those careers in the future. I find it amazing how kids choose their future, parents help guide them, but they have little understanding of really what are those careers. I ask principals the same question, and then I wonder, our leaders are good, but shouldn't this be on the forefront of their mind? And I ask them, what are the in-demand careers? And they'll say like computer science, which yeah, that's true. But there's much more out there. And if you have an idea of what those are, you can better help guide your students. We can help guide your students. That's really what we are trying to do. Talk about the 9 career pathways. Some of the information that we have, those 9 career pathways are the in-demand pathways in the Puget Sound area. Take a look at some of the CTE data so you can see, not just hear what I'm talking about, but see what our outcomes are. And a lot of that data that we'll highlight is students receiving special services. And I think you have some questions there. And then I really wanted to dive into 2 things, which is summer opportunities. And you're getting the information way before anybody else. We have a growing internship program, and a lot of it is in partnership with Amazon, but more than that. And I like our title there, Career Quest, because you are kind of, you're going out and you're figuring out who you are, what you're interested in, and you might find out what you're not interested in, which is just as valuable. And soon our summer skills center courses are going to open up. It's about mid-March or so, but I think you should get a strong preview of that, and you can give us some feedback on that. And again, anything else that you want to talk about, we're good with that. Can we go next slide? And all questions are good. Next slide. I'm going to attempt, maybe I'll ask Kat to this. Kat, can you try to run the video? Either one of us are.
Yeah, I definitely can. Let me just stop sharing really quickly. I can navigate away.
This was made by a former 7th grade student of mine who is now 32.
This is Yana. I have a question. I know we've discussed this in the past. You know, families are often starting to plan their summers early. And so March is better than what it used to be, which used to be June when the information goes out. But I would advocate for us to know for next summer in the fall, or at least by January. Because we are often planning, you know, ahead, and we have to plan, right? There's a lot that goes on for our summer planning. Sometimes you have to reserve spots for different activities and therapies, etc. So knowing ahead is super helpful.
And it probably, you're like, it's hard to get the exact information, but it seems like you also mean as much information as possible at that time. Like the course.
Right. So
Well,
for example, the information that the program is happening, and these are, you know, this is a draft of what we offer, but this might subject to change, right? So like, just reaching out to people and letting them know. Go ahead, Sherilyn.
I've had this experience for a couple of years, a couple of summers, where I found out that there were skills center, or I knew there would be skills center classes because emails had gone out actually when my daughter was going into 9th grade. And she's now a senior at the UW. And in my son's last 2 years, I was pushing for a skill center program. And what I'd learned was summer skills. What I'd learned was that there were 2 staffers, and they weren't able to open the applications until like the first week of June. So that because I had stayed on it and I had started sending in the mail early, and I knew already what skills center class or summer class I was hoping to see. My understanding was that both the staffers, with just the 2 staffers, that wasn't enough to confirm teachers for the summer programs.
Yeah, comments are well heard. Again, Seattle Public Schools is great. When I first came, I was bothered. Like I always had a rule of you let families know, you let teachers know about PD, and your deadline is the 10th of March, because that's when people make plans. Kat, can you jump in really fast? We were talking today about the Skill Center application opening. You said that tomorrow is the opening of the internship program, but the Skill Center is a little bit later, if I remember correctly.
That's right. The Skills Center has to complete some paperwork for the state that usually is provided to them in late February, early March, and isn't processed until mid-March. So the principal likes to wait until we're approved to run summer programs and understand the exact parameters. So that could be percentage remote versus percentage in-person synchronous learning before he posts it. So that accounts for some of the delay. They have tried to mitigate by starting an interest form for parents and listing last year's classes, like I think you mentioned, Yana. But certainly we will note that and bring that up in our meeting with the Skills Center principal.
I have a quick question. Where would you prefer, or how do you get your information? So you see there's Skill Center courses that are going to be offered this summer. Where are you looking, or where would you like to find that information? Where do you get your information from?
This is Cheryl Lynn. I'll say that well, my kid is in Bridges now. My young man is in Bridges. I would say ideally, his case manager would know and would be suggesting it. Now, I would also like to know that there are, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 other ways of communication so that I've gotten that information early on. I'd love to be learning about CTE, going into 6th grade. So in terms of just starting to anticipate, I was in a training on special education advocacy, and the woman presenting on post-secondary transition was talking about when she sits down with a kindergartner or with the family of a kindergartner, starting to not necessarily say, let's look at the transition, but to say, let's think about what skills we're going to need and how we might be able to get there. So definitely the case manager, which was really frustrating. People really didn't know much about it. My most effective way of finding out about things was through CTE classes that were baked into the high school already, and I would be talking with the teacher.
Yeah, thank you. That's good information. Anybody else? This would be really useful information for us. Okay, if
And nobody else, I have one question here, and I don't know. Let me check the chat as well. So Christy, do you want to speak? Do you want me to just read it?
Sure, I can speak. I've been running into this. My kid is in high school, and I find out about things sometimes pretty late because it turns out that the counselors are talking to kids about stuff, and I don't think my kids ever met the counselor. I think they just kind of expect the case managers to take care of that. So I think I miss out on some of the information sometimes.
That's good information. I had the same discovery or realization when I realized, so like at Ballard, it was 150 kids per counselor, and that really opened my eyes. And then I thought, I got to find a different way of getting information. Make sure the counselors are informed, but I can't just depend on counselor to get information.
Yeah, that's really true too. Yep, they're totally overworked.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Kate. I just wanted to add that if there's something, a program outside of the regular school hours, I just assume that I'll hear about it through an email. So that would be my go-to.
So case managers email, Facebook, or if you think of more, jump in or put it in the chat.
I think going as a printed out in a kid backpack as well, because some families prefer the paper form still, and they might not know. And I will say that at least by beginning of 7th grade, as a parent of an 8th grader and a recent graduate from SBS, I would have liked to know that what a CTE was. I would have liked to know what high school and beyond plan was. And maybe I didn't need to find out in high school with, so that they are actually going into the high school prepared for high school, knowing kind of what's out there, which direction they're heading. In our school, current school, the counselor said that high school and beyond plan doesn't start until high school. So they wouldn't send me a copy because there isn't any. And then I persisted. So I got screenshots of Naviance is what I received. So we would love to see that happening all for students coming into middle school, kind of having an idea of what that all is.
High school and beyond plan, it begins in 6th grade, actually.
Seventh, I thought. So 7th and by 8th grade. And then it's a 4-year plan. And somehow I just came from the state SEAC public forum, and all of us said that it did not start. And it was not just Seattle families, it was, other families, but people didn't know until high school, or my eldest son didn't receive high school and beyond plan until mid 11th grade. And only with me asking, right? So they didn't work on it before that. So that's just, I think there's a big gap, and that's what families talked about tonight a lot, that there's a big gap between general education staff and special education staff, not kind of like, oh, so-and-so is going to work with you on that, and so-and-so is going to work with you on that. And there's a little bit of a disconnect there.
I'll add, again, many great things in Seattle public schools. I'd say throughout all of our schools, high school and beyond plan is not done very well. It's done as a checkbox type of thing. It is a requirement for graduation, but I do not see it done well or to the true intent. For your information, the Naviance will change to school links starting in fall, but I have never seen Naviance being the true gap there. And I wish I could tell you, and and this is how we're going to do it. But there will be that change right there.
So this, I'll just add to that there's this statewide platform that's going to start being implemented in the fall, and OSBI is working on that. I was also in some work group forum about that, like I think in the fall. So that I know that they needed a lot of input. They wanted and collected a lot of input on that. So the SEAC meeting was just discussing parts of it, but I think pieces that they should include. And so I think sounds like they're fine tuning it.
This is Cheryl Lynn. I do know, and I put in chat that I've heard, Dr. Caleb Perkins in a board meeting say high school and beyond has been just kind of like check the box. I can't remember when it rolled out because it was state law, I think, that was put in. So it's not that long ago. Gosh, and now I get and I forget the point. So it's like, not transition. I guess also that, my daughter, who did not have any special needs or special education services, did not get much of anything anyway. So it is a big old challenge. I know what I was going to ask. How are your programs working with the new, one of the new goals that the school board has set, that whole high school and beyond plus, or whatever they ended up naming it? High school and beyond would have been actually a goal to achieve.
Yeah, yes. I like to think we work with all of those goals, which is true. And the one that we are working with, of course, is the high school and beyond plus. And the first stage of it is an interim goal. And what we have decided to do, which it will not be the end thing, is that we are reporting out work-based learning for our students. So I think it's every month we'll present to the board the work-based learning that is happening in each one of our classrooms, each one of our schools. Work-based learning being industry visits, career visits, industry-based problem solving, industry-based problems, internships, and things like that. And to me, that's really the heart of CTE. In the future, really what will be reported is our different pathway completers. So it's great that kids take classes, but what's more important is that just as important is that they complete pathways. I'll introduce you to those pathways. I do think it's a very good enhancement to what we are doing. It just really depends on the implementation. We can give data, but how do we do it, and how do we do it well? Okay, how are we with the video cat? Should we move ahead or try it?
Fine to do it if you'd like to. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how we are on time.
This is Yana. I think we have time.
Okay.
What I honestly believe is that CTE really is the most important area in a school district. I mean, it's the one place where we get to directly help students prepare for their next step after Seattle Public Schools.
It's important for every student to have career and technical education experiences by the time they graduate, because they're all going to have a career.
Career and technical education prepares students of all ages for career and college readiness after high school. Through CTE classes, students explore a wide array of careers with the opportunity to dive into career pathways of interest to them.
They're also connecting with the different employers to really understand why this career might be for them.
CTE students have benefited through the partnership that we've offered in learning clinical experiences that they would otherwise not see, meeting individuals and mentors who can inspire them about a profession in both nursing and medical assistant fields. And then likewise, we have benefited from exploring and meeting with students who are eager to join our teams in the future.
I was not sure what to do after high school, so I thought it would be cool to learn about some different careers that I've been considering.
I think it's a great opportunity to show your company and your industry to the next generation of your workforce, give them the opportunity to get involved early, see what things they like or don't like, so that way in the future you'll have a workforce that's prepared as well as interested in that field.
At Amazon, we work really closely with SPS's CTE department to really understand the needs of students and then work backwards on shared goals to increase accessibility of foundational learning experiences and career exploration. And so by working closely with the district, we're really able to increase that access with things like the high school externship, field trips, and career talks, just to name a few. But then also, if students are inspired to really pursue those different careers, that they have a pathway available to them.
Seeing all this new things and new technology around me and the ways, different career paths you can go with and how to contribute to making new technology, I thought it was super cool. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this internship.
I think my ideal outcome would just be to kind of spark an idea, maybe give almost a realism, that there are real people that do this. It's not a pipe dream, or it's not something that's unachievable, that, I used to be a high school student and now here I am.
There's many, many jobs out there. We live in the heart of STEM. We want to ensure that our students graduate and enter into those different careers. So the tighter relationship that we can have between industry and the school system, the better it will be for everyone.
Learn more about possibilities for your student in CTE classes at seattleschools.org/departments/CTE.
one thing I wanted to point out was there still is a perception that CTE, vocational education that used to be called, is really only for students who are not going to college. That's completely untrue. It's for everybody. And I think I said it in there, everybody's having a career. And you'll probably have that career longer than you are in school. So it really is, to me, core education, the most important part of what we are doing in the school systems. Many times that fights against other priorities in schools. If we go back to the slideshow, and I think the next slide is, let's see. So the next two slides, as we transition there, is really just what was on the video, and I think you got it. Training kids about future careers, but also the skills that are needed, and also really that sense of self, of who am I, what can I do? I can see myself as an engineer. I can see myself in a medical profession. That is me. Just because a kid, understands the content, that doesn't mean that they are going to eventually go into it, even if they love that content. Let's go to the next slide. We'll have time to go back to CTE. I do think this is really important. We talk about careers. There are lots of jobs out there. There's lots of careers out there. And I think most people would agree, we want our students to go into a career that is at the very least living wage. And in that, at the bottom there, and I think Kat will put that in the chat, it's the MIT very comprehensive study of every single county in the United States and how much it takes to be at a living wage. And they factor in everything. So by living wage, we mean being comfortable, but not extras. And so a single adult, 0 kids, needs to make at least $62,000 a year to be at that level, which is way above poverty level. But that's just the basics. 2 adults, 2 children, with only 1 working, needs to make $107,000. And this is interesting. 2 adults, 2 children, both adults working, need to be $117,000. I'll let you think about that, but that really also reveals a reality of what it takes to live in this area. And as you probably guessed, that figure is higher because of childcare. Okay, so if you have time, I really do encourage you to spend some time on the MIT living wage. It's just very interesting. They've done a very thorough job of what it takes. But with that perspective, then you kind of need to know, well, what are those careers? How should I be helping my students, my child, kind of navigate, or at least have the understanding of what is out there? So if we go to the next slide. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I think this is extremely useful. And could you go ahead and open that up, Kat? And again, she'll put this link into the chat so that you can go back to it later. And what you're going to see is comprehensive employment data. And it comes from the Labor Department. Every single company, working place has to report wages, job classification, and growth, and the careers in the future. And what Washington STEM has done is provide this great interface where you can actually interact with the data, not just read the data, but actually interact with the data, and you can ask your own questions. It's great to work with a kid on this because they like it, because you can click on different things and you can ask different types of questions. And I can open that up as well if we need to. Go ahead and grab that.
And this is Yana, why don't you? Yeah, I think it's just showing people what it is about, and then they can explore. I think that might be helpful
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I'm gonna put it. Oh, Kat put it in there. Wait, I sent a
Yeah,
direct message.
I'm
but
happy to share this screen again, Brian, if you'd like me to.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you appreciate that. I'll kind of show you how to navigate this. So when you first come to this screen, you have to navigate to the bottom. And you'll see, it's a little bit deceptive. You'll see this map right there. And if you go up a little bit more, Kat, there's some tabs, I believe, right there. Okay, go to job projections. Okay, so here are we in Washington? Can you change Washington State to Puget Sound area? Yeah, Kingston. Okay. These are all the careers. So every income level, and you'll see what's in demand right now. And so you'll see very quickly, computers and mathematical operation occupations is number one. Note that it's in red. That means it's a bachelor's degree is needed. And the orange right there is a master's degree that's needed. Number two, business and financial operations, bachelor's degree is needed. Healthcare, because you see the bachelor's, but green is associate's degree, and yellow is post-secondary degree, non-degree award. And you'll notice there's not much yellow there. And again, we're in all income levels. And then you see construction and you see apprenticeships. Apprenticeships, by the way, are some of the best paying jobs, especially electrical, construction, and a couple other ones. For some reason, apprenticeships don't have the sometimes not the best connotation. They're great, and it is post-secondary education, and it's difficult. They're well trained. We have a construction apprenticeship program 2 places, and then you see life physical science, and then it goes on. Those are all careers. So Kat, can you go ahead and go to the left? And what I want to do is think about that living wage. Okay, somewhere you can adjust the, I think it's, they changed it. Go to the self-sufficiency thing, scroll down a little bit more, and put in, let's do 1 adult, 0 kids, and 0, okay. So this is about $70,000. So you see the career shrink. You see less yellow. You see more, a majority more red. And for Puget Sound area, computer mathematical occupations, can you go ahead and change that to 1 child, 1 adult? So this was about, I don't think I had it on the screen. It's about 100,000. Now even more red, the yellow disappeared. There's some associate degrees, but it's healthcare. Can you do 2 adults, 2 children? Or 1 child? Okay, yeah, sure. And that looks about the same right there. And so Puget Sound area, and can you go ahead and change that to Snohomish County? This is just an example of how it's fun to do. It's better than just reading tables. So you see something change there. So that's why it's so useful. You see the construction and extraction occupations come up. And I live in Snohomish County. I'm in Everett. I know exactly what that is. I mean, that's Boeing and its suppliers. But you get a good idea of what's going on. And then just to make sure you know all the tabs, can you scroll back up, Kat? And there's job projections. There's detailed. So if you hover over, say, business operations, you get projected annual openings and more data. And then you can get the tables as well. Oh, and if you didn't want to do the living wage part, you can also do it with regional medium wage. Can you, yeah, do about 100,000.
This
Okay.
is Yana. How can we, parents and help students to use this practically?
What I have seen is uh, once you show them, they like doing it. And what I have done with groups of students is just have them list, okay, what are you interested in? Like, what do you want to do? Okay. And that's great. Let's go ahead and see what those careers are in this particular area. Are there lots of job openings? And hey, there's the different colors here. What do the different colors mean? It tends to work very, very well, much better than say a video or reading something. It to me, it should be this tool should be part of the high school and beyond plan, and maybe some type of assignment that students take home.
This is Yana. So you would say they would explore once they know what they're interested in, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So I'm going to make a statement here. It is a blanket statement, and there's exceptions to it. When you start looking, what you tend to see in the Puget Sound area is if you want to earn a living wage, for the most part, you do need to have a bachelor's degree. I mean, look, all the red, and what's not red there is orange, and then what's not orange is blue, which is doctorate. There's exceptions. And then when you look further, what you see, and you can see it right there, those are all STEM degrees. Those are all STEM careers. Let me rephrase that. They are within STEM companies. So we live in the heart of STEM. You really need to have a bachelor's degree and be focused. Hence, that high school and beyond plan, I think it's one of the most important things that we really need to be concentrating on. So that's that. Can I feel free to ask any questions about the use of that tool, or just what I think in particular about career openings and down in the future?
This is Cheryl Lynn. I am concerned about my daughter who's getting her bachelor's degree. I am almost hopeless for my son who is still in Bridges. What can we be doing, or how do we work with students in special education?
Great question. That's the question I have on my mind as well, and what we were talking about today is what strategy should we be putting in place, and who should we be targeting, because who has the most contact with students and can influence that change. I guess I'd turn it around. Who should we be engaging? What is your suggestions?
Well, I was going to say maybe PTAs. I know that doesn't reach everyone.
I think, this is Yana, I think principals and
Yes.
counselors and special education teachers, but that's not to say that they would be necessarily implementing it, or but like, as they are supposed to know about it, right? So otherwise, when families are asking, they don't know. And I think one piece that I brought in during the forum that I was in, where like we were talking about high school and beyond plan, before this meeting, I said, okay, if at the beginning of the school year, during curriculum night, there was a time reserved for the counselor to speak with families, particularly those incoming into middle school and those in middle school. Every year they should hear it. Yeah. And they should get to see mail coming home, emails coming home, newsletters from each principal. It should be going every direction, every avenue.
You're saying that really concentrating on communication and multiple communication channels would pay off well. That would be.
Yes, because otherwise families don't know. And of course, partnering with organizations and other agencies is great. But I think if it becomes the routine of every principal knows about it and they are informed about it, and they are asked to include it in their communication and work with their counselor to disseminate the information and hold a forum, hold a meeting to talk about it. That's how people are going to learn, right?
Agreed.
Christy, go ahead.
I just, to address Sherilyn's question a little bit, I was poking around on this website too, and people might find it useful that I notice you can like go the reverse of what Brian showed, where you say like, look, show me jobs that don't have any formal education required, or like, maybe have some work experience. I mean, your kid might have some work experience after a while, and depending on the industry might qualify that way. So yeah, that could be useful depending on what criteria your kid has.
Heck, we go back to the slideshow. And the next slide coming up, I shouldn't guess, I'll just wait. So the next slide is kind of what we talked about before. I thought when I first came, we need to have, it's just, elementary is so important. And I'll repeat what I said, is that kids form who they are and what they can be at a very early age. And research shows that really tapers off about 4th, 5th grade. They have decided. People don't become engineers or decide, I'm going to be an engineer when I'm in 11th grade. They actually decided that earlier, whether they know it or not. And Shalyn was talking about, earlier the better for learning, hearing about skills, learning about skills. I agree, but also just meeting professionals who say look like them, that they can connect with, is way more powerful than people fully understand, because it's not what we usually talk about. So to me, like when I think about gaps, which I think about all the time, it's elementary, it's middle school. And one of the best ways to address it is through communication. At elementary, trying to build a very strong robotics program, which is after school would be ideal if it's during the day, but at every single school. So we went from 2 robotics programs to 24 in 1 year. And I want to see a robotics program at every single elementary school next year. And even hired somebody to do that. And then computer science / technology at elementary, kids learning about computer science within math and within science. So that's a priority as well. And there's more at elementary, but I'm just trying to say elementary, we need to do more work on that. Okay, we do next slide. So in Seattle, based on the in-demand pathways, we've made our pathways, which are the in-demand pathways in this area, which correspond to the careers that you were just talking about. And so we've organized our entire program around these. I just got done meeting with every principal one-on-one for about 45 minutes, talking about what's at their school, what should be at their school, and what their gaps are. And you'll see, actually, the first one is an in-demand one, but not as much as the other ones that are very much in demand. Sometimes culinary and hospitality have concerns around the living wage part, but there are lots of jobs. And as I was saying that, when I first talked to you all, it was very apparent that what you just said was communication is where we should be investing our time. So I'm going to show you one way we're doing it. I'm going to ask Kat to take over and show you how to navigate our website that she spent a lot of time making great. So Kat, can you go ahead and take over?
Sure. Just get out of PowerPoint. So we have one of the more frequently visited web pages among the many district websites. So I'm going to take you all on a very brief tour, starting with our main page where we try to get the word out about what CTE is through the video that
I'm sorry,
just
this
shared.
this is Cheryl Lynn. I'm seeing the slide deck.
Thank you for telling me. Let me change up. I'm so used to Teams now that Zoom has become a challenge for me. Is everyone able to see the CTE webpage now?
Not yet.
No.
All right. Are
Double
you able to see it now?
Yep.
Wonderful. And I will put this link in the chat for anyone who's interested. It's the same as the video earlier, though. So on our homepage, we right off the bat, we feature the sort of map to CTE that we're hoping all students will go through that Brian went over, with a little bit of additional information about all that we offer at each of the school levels. On our tabs on the right, we have a partnership tab where we are going to be, we showcase all of the industry partners that we work with. And this will grow even more extensive as we continue to expand the offerings that we provide directly with industry. We also like to highlight all of our students' work. CTE, February is Black History Month, as we learned. It's also the National CTE Month. So we have been getting a lot of our student work out to people, both through the district social media channels, but also simply on our social or on our virtual showcase here. We had a Cleveland student win a game design programming competition, so you're welcome to play the game here if you'd like. We had a bunch of students at Nathan Hale and Roosevelt earning Stop the Bleed and CPR certification. Culinary students are featuring their work for CTE months, and then our parent education lab at Alan T. Sugiyama in the South End has earned a level 4 facility designation, which, as I understand it, is quite difficult to do. So we try to maintain this to get the word out. If we have a big story, we usually go through Central District Communications. We also offer financial literacy resources. Financial literacy is a shared area of focus across the entire district, but at CTE, we do our part by compiling various resources for families, for students at the elementary through high school level. And this is something that our career connected learning coordinators in the high schools also go over with their students through the Career Connect 1 and Career Connect 2 classes that we offer. And then I think Brian wanted me to speak on pathways specifically. So we do have information about all of the different classes that are offered in all 9 of our pathways. So I won't click through each of them, but I would like to highlight our business and marketing pathways here for you. All of the pathways pages sort of follow this model. We have a video with an overview of different ways that students in business and marketing classes get to engage with the content across the district. We explain what the business and marketing pathway is. We highlight some careers that we know students might not know about that are associated with these pathways, and then list a few in-demand occupations using Bureau of Labor statistics. We also list courses that students can take now. These courses are not available at all schools, but we want to make students aware that they exist and families aware that they exist so that they can speak to their counselors, speak to the people who help them choose their classes, and register accordingly. We also list our classes that offer dual college credit. So this is kind of a great resource to see all of the different classes that students can take along different pathways. To complete a pathway in CTE, students have to earn 2 credits, so that's typically 4 semesters within one pathway. So lots of fun things to explore here. If students are interested in deepening their learning, we have career and technical student organizations in many of our pathways. So in business and marketing, that CTSO, as we call it, the student organization is called DECA. DECA hosts a bunch of competitive events for students, provides leadership opportunities, and sort of hands-on early learning challenge or early career challenges for students. And then our specialists also compile lists of local college programs that students might want to explore after they leave. And then our specialists can be contacted, our content area specialists can be contacted via our cte@seattleschools.org account. So we've done this for all 9 of our pathways just to really sort of start building and compiling these resources for students and families. So I just wanted to give you a very quick snapshot of our webpage and the resources that we're starting to compile here. Any immediate questions that come to mind for anyone?
This is Yana. I'm wondering, and I just want attendees to feel free to unmute and speak or raise hand. And we're a pretty small group here. So are parents expected to be reaching out to the staff, or is staff asked to reach out to families, or because that, you mentioned there's CTE@seattleschools.org. Like, who would you be expecting and when, under what circumstances would be contacting you?
I think that if a parent had a specific interest in one of these pathways and wanted to learn more about the offerings at their school, and if they were not getting that information from the school or from district-wide communications that we put out, we want to make sure that there is a contact. I do agree with you that the primary responsibility for getting communication out should not be a parent searching for this information within the pages of our very complicated website.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about families who might be immigrants, who might not know how this all works. Being an immigrant, I will tell you that everything is new, and I learn something new every day, and so do we all. But it's extra hard to figure out and have to read all of this. So, and there are families who are not going to get onto the website or are not going to, ask, let's talk, right? Questions like we do.
Yeah.
So I think this website is great, but I would hope that this is shared through the school channels with families so that they don't have to stumble upon this when we are desperate looking for information, right? Because a lot of us might start off with not knowing what CTE is.
I'd add Jana's right. This website is beautiful. It's not overly complicated. You've done a good job, Kat. Like my wife is not a native English speaker, and the district I live in, they do a great job of translating the homepage, which is probably the least useful page. But there's all this information that it is foreign, not because it's a different language from her, but like there's all this hidden information, secret information that lots of people know about, but not everybody knows about, and we don't pay enough attention to that. I mean, there is different languages that Kat is highlighting. Lots of times it's not the language that's the difficulty, it's navigating the system, understanding what the system is. And I've thought about different groups at schools and trying to connect with them. In my district where I live, we have natural leaders, which are parents that are born and raised in different countries, and they get together and they talk about, how can we engage with our communities to make sure that all this information is out. There needs to be more work around this.
Can we get that in Seattle? Sorry.
Um, I've tried to push for natural leaders. My wife's the leader of natural leaders. I think it's great. I've been told that it's an overlapping program, but I'm not quite sure what it's overlapping with. So like at her school, like you can send an email to the central natural leaders, just like I have no idea what this night is about that everybody seems to know about, and then somebody will answer back in their language and kind of give the extended response of what that is. I have not figured out what the similar programs are in Seattle. I think that would be a great strategy. Seattle's often complicated to navigate, but that's not really an excuse.
So this is Yana. Would this be a question for Dr. Torres or Dr. Perkins?
It would
What would be the avenue to advocate for?
That's a great question. That we're gonna have to do some research on that. It would be the administrators who are in. It might just be the principals. I don't know, but that's worth finding out.
I would hope we would not leave all these things to principals because they have plenty going on, and also then the variability of information going out is too great. I'm gonna call on Christy.
This is Christy, and Yana asked me to ask this question live. Whether you guys would consider having like a district-wide webinar, and then you could like offer translation, or even, have focus, you could have like just a session for Somali families or something. But I think if that was advertised like by the district, it seems like a lot of parents would be interested in that.
We would do that. Kat's writing it down. That's a good idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
This is Yana. Thank you, Christy. And I think, reaching out to us and the council PTSA to distribute the information. Council has contacts for all local PTAs. In addition to sharing with staff, it helps us, in addition with, contacting families, the more channels there are, the better, right? Because every one of us only is kind of reaching, getting information from different ways. So covering it all would be awesome. Sherilyn, go ahead.
This is Cheryl Lynn. Just thinking of different organizations, the Southeast Seattle Education Coalition, CSEC. If you're not already working with them, that would be a great place they do a kind of a lunch and learn, just to maybe do a session with that group, and their outreach. I know they're well connected.
That's good.
King County.
What did you think, Jana?
Arc of King County.
And potentially Open Doors.
This is Cheryl Lynn. Yeah, Open Doors, because they're more in the school district. Arc of King County, although learning about the Natural Leaders program, Arc of King County might be able to help with that.
I'll grab a link of Natural Leaders. It's a great program.
I think I found it. Washington Alliance for Better Schools.
They're the umbrella organization, and the Natural Leaders is under them.
Right.
So let's go to next slide. I forget what the next slide is. Oh, I know. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's I think I put it in the chat twice now. This is our CTE annual plan. It's well done. There's colorful pictures. You can see kids in action, and it's our overall data of the performance of our students, which is not about grades. It's about work-based learning, internships, CTSOs, which are like DECA, pathway completers. It shows each individual school and how many kids complete a pathway and how many of those pathways are high quality pathways. So we're pushing this thing where we don't just want pathways, we want high quality pathways. And
How is that measured?
yeah, good question. High quality pathways is a pathway at a school where there's also a CTSO, a career and technical student organization. For example, a business and marketing pathway would also need DECA. An engineering pathway would also have a robotics program. So that's one element. And then another element is every teacher is actively doing work-based learning, which is, again, like industry visits, career speakers, so CTSOs, work-based learning. And then in that pathway, kids can earn an industry recognized certificate. Industry recognized, there's a chart that shows that. So like a Ballard in state health and medical is a high quality pathway back to the IRC. So within that pathway, kids can receive industry recognized credential that you would actually need for that job. So like a real assessment, a real life assessment that shows you're proficient at a skill. So ideally there's an industry recognized certificate, but then there's also dual credit in that pathway, meaning at least one of those courses is also a college course that they can take with them and continue on that pathway. Most districts just concentrate on having a pathway, which is the light green. We want to see more high quality pathways like you're seeing at Ballard, where it's dark green across the top. Can you scroll down a little bit so we can see the rest of the schools, Kat, please? And you'll notice some patterns right away. So like Roosevelt, Ballard, Lincoln, West Seattle are the ones who have already progressed to high quality pathways. We'll get them all there. But we just know that we got to put this in front of principals and district leaders and say, this is our standard right here. So you can take a look at that. I want to show you an interesting data point. Could you put the pathway completers up that show special education students next? There's a couple pie charts, Kat.
This is Yana. I'm just a reminder, we are kind of running out of time, but we can spare another 5 minutes. But our meetings are now only an hour and a half. So our meeting is scheduled to end at 8:30. We did have our VP had to leave. So I think our legislative advocacy presentation will be short, very, very short, because she had some issues with vehicle being stolen, so she has to deal with that again. So not a fun one. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that we are covering the most important things, or we can always ask you back or help advertise if there's a presentation that's for the whole district, anything like that.
Yeah, I would happily come back. We would happily come back. And I'll move fast here, and I'm going to hit the student opportunities. Look in that report if you have time.
Yeah. This is Sherilyn. I don't want to miss the special education relevance. So if you do hit that.
Yeah, if you could put that data point up, that's that pie chart. Also in the chat, Sherilyn says it'd be great if the board knows we are giving this annual plan to the board this month, and we're hoping that their eyes go on it. The stat that Kat, one in the annual plan, Kat, and I can find it as well.
Sorry, Brian, I thought you meant this pie chart.
Oh, that's good. I'll start talking about it here. We keep track of career pathway completers. For one reason is that's what we should be doing. The other reason is completing a pathway is a requirement for graduation, just like high school and beyond plan is a requirement for graduation. So one of our leverage points has been that graduation point. And what we've done is pulled out how many kids have used a used a CT pathway in order to graduate. And then we pulled out the students that are receiving special services so that you can see how many kids are using that, and more kids receiving special services are using the graduation CTE pathway than the entire population as a whole. And it's sort of like it's a pie chart somewhere. You might be able to just look at it on the annual plan. And yeah, so I'll go into Kat put it in the chat. 64% of special education students met the requirements for a CTE graduation pathway. And then there's a stat there that's what percentage of students actually use that as their pathway. And I think it's close to 80%.
Of those 64%?
80% of students receiving special services, that was their only graduation pathways, meaning it was not the other pathways, which is proficiency on tests are the main ones, and another one is dual credit. So in other words, students receiving special services are very dependent on the career pathways in order to graduate. And it always makes me think and pause a little bit about what that actually means right there. And yeah, it's on this page, I think. And we'll move ahead if we can't find it.
It's good.
I think it's there. This is Kat.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's there at
Yeah.
the bottom in the bar chart.
Yeah, so you can see, okay, so yellow is the students who completed a pathway, but they may have had another pathway. So if they didn't complete a career pathway, they might have had another pathway. Green is the students that was their pathway. There was not another pathway. And 40% of special education students only had the career pathway, and that's what they used in order to graduate. Again, I think about that one a lot and what that means. So the more career pathways we have, the higher the graduation rate of special education students. But then I think, what does that mean about the other pathways? Are we not making them accessible enough? I don't know, but that is a significant data point.
This is Cheryl. Oh, this is Cheryl Lynn. My sons will get a CTE diploma as compared to the certificate of completion, which is, I don't know, a throwaway. And I think that's important because the more I've learned, I've got a 20-year-old, and the more I keep learning everything, I realize it's like he's not set up for life. Yeah. And he won't be. He'll be somewhat improved and it's not just about him. But I also want to know, and then I also want to share though that one of his classmates went through the teaching program. Yes. Franklin, I think it was, and is now a student over at WSU in their ROAR program. So, and this is a student who has wanted to be a teacher as long as I've known her. So it's nice to see that that is something that has helped and made a difference.
It's good to hear. Kat, I'm going to turn it over to you for Skills Center and for the internship program to close it out.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. I will keep this brief. I know that we're running out of time. I'll start by sharing our Career Quest internship program, and I will put the link to this in the chat, as well as our spreadsheet and all of the documents that we went over. Tomorrow, we're going to be launching our internship program applications. This summer, we will be partnering with Amazon and the Allen Institute, as well as a series of local companies that are going to be able to host our students for paid internships, during which they will also earn 0.25 to 0.5 CTE credits over the course of 2 to 4 weeks this summer. I want to highlight one program in particular that we're launching with the Allen Institute. We're very excited about for students that are interested in entering the healthcare fields writ large, biology, or research. So I work closely with Karina, our internship coordinator, who has really successfully grown this program. We served about 85 students last year, and I think this year it'll be closer to 120, 140. And then the Skill Center and Summer School link. Skill Center, as we mentioned, will be opening their application later in March. There is an interest form available now. Typically, they offer courses that feed into their school year courses, the idea being that students can complete an introductory level course over the summer and then proceed into a deeper dive during that year-long intensive half-day course. Summer programs range from maritime, which you can see pictured on the right, to engineering at Roosevelt. We have a bunch of different healthcare classes at Franklin. There are a couple family health classes for students that need to retake family health for some reason. We always offer advanced manufacturing, and they also have a skilled trade sampler program, which feeds either into Skill Center or to our pre-apprenticeship program, which I think Brian mentioned briefly. So I will leave these links in the chat and take any questions that you have at this point in time. Christy, I see your question about the difference between Skill Center and CTE. All Skill Center classes are CTE, but not all CTE classes fall under the Skill Center umbrella. Skill Center has a very intensive model, usually a half day long, and students earn 1.5 CTE credits along with any credit equivalencies in other subject areas during the course of their Skill Center class. Yep.
Okay, this is Yana. We have one more question, and we're going to have to go because we're going to have to finalize because it is 8:26.
Yes.
But there was a question, what is the difference between Skill Center and CTE? No, there was another question, sorry. I just saw it and it just jumped in front of my eyes.
Could rising 8th graders participate? So in Skill Center, rising 9th graders can participate. We don't have middle school CTE programs during summers yet. We've toyed with the idea in the past, and I think long-term that's something that we definitely need to continue to revisit. There will be summer school opportunities, but no specifically CTE only program sites this summer. Okay. And I will write that down. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will say that my eldest kid actually took advantage of a class at the Skills Center in the summer after 11th grade, and it was very hard to convince him to, but he really enjoyed it and he was successful, and he did electronic music production, and it was fabulous. I do hope that students don't have to travel to the other side of the town like we did to do that. And I know I brought it up with Brian and with Caleb before to say, okay, there are some very popular programs that we really need in every part of town, not just up north or not just down south, right? So thank you very much for coming tonight. And I believe if you wouldn't mind putting your emails in the chat for people who have more questions, that would be wonderful. And thank you for the CTE PowerPoint. I don't see the link yet, but I'm guessing it's coming. And We do have 2 minutes, so we are not, we're gonna, we appreciate you coming after work and late into the evening, and we're just going to move on to our PTA business in the last 2 minutes. And I think, so have a good night. And then, yes, so we have Sip and Chats coming up. The next one is on March 19th. Then there's one in April and one in May. We're gonna have to really run through it pretty quick. The next, we didn't get to legislative advocacy today, but this was very engaging presentation. So there is March 6th legislative advocacy sip and chat at 7 to 8. It's online and it's on our calendar and our website. There is oh yeah, so we are updating our special guide to special education. We are continuing the work, but if you still have some proposals, feel free to reach out. You can email president at Seattle Special Education PTSA. We are adding certain pages, certain information, and just kind of refreshing. Then if we could, I will share this one first, and we just grew our membership during this school year, and I believe it's by 20%. So we earned the Platinum Membership Growth Award from Washington State PTA. So yay, but we need more members because the members give us more advocacy power, right? So there's the last thing is we would like to make a call for a nomination committee. And as a president, as a current president, I would like to ask people who can spare some time in the next couple of months to help us find new leaders for next school year. As you might know, we have to rotate every year, and positions are, the terms are 1 year and only can repeat twice. So basically maximum of 2 years. So if you are interested in helping us find new leaders for our executive committee, which would be the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, or secretaries, which is best, then please reach out to, again, president at Seattle Special Education PTSA. I'm sorry, interpreters, if I ran through this very fast. And then, Carolyn, do you want to take this one, or I can? But
Sure.
Yeah.
That we've got our work groups, committee meetings. We've got legislative advocacy then tomorrow at noon. And actually, oh yes, upcoming Monday. No, I had it yesterday. These are out of date. Okay, well, we had those. We had a FACE meeting, and then there's also communications coming up, I think on March 4th.
There is actually legislative advocacy committee meeting tomorrow at noon. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. I do have one more note, but the meeting will be adjourned in about 1 minute. So we did go to Olympia last Monday, which was Advocacy Day. And I got to ask a question to the state superintendent, because he did talk about students with disabilities and students who are highly capable in those services. And sometimes those students belong to both categories. So of course, that's an opportunity for us to ask about twice exceptional students. And I did bring up, how is the state, how is the OSBI, or could they provide training or require professional development around twice exceptionality, when the students are often excluded from highly capable programs based on their disability, and then they're performing, at grade level, and they don't qualify for special education services when they should. And their answer was initially, well, we can't mandate, and that would be a mandate by the legislature. But we reminded him that There's also rulemaking through which we can work through, and actually the superintendent said that he would like to connect outside of the meeting, outside of the legislative advocacy or legislative session, and work with our PTA to talk about the twice exceptional topic and what OSBI can do to support 2E students. So yay, I feel pretty excited about that. So I better follow up and stay on that. So the meeting is adjourned 4 minutes late, 8:34. Thank you very much. Thank you to our interpreters, and thanks everyone for coming, and have a good night.